Hi everyone, thanks for coming out to our vBrownbag Tech Talk. I'm Luke from Zetagrid, and never really get the chance to do a community talk. Most of my talks are obviously trying to sell stuff, but this is a chance really for me to, try and give a bit back to the community. So I've been doing IT for about 15, 16 years, and really the main part of that time has been a consultant. So I'm selling, implementing, putting in DR solutions. So I thought, what better to then try and come out and maybe impart a bit of the knowledge that I've seen and I've done in the industry in the last 15 or so years. Dinosaurs didn't do DR. That really was just an aim to try and get you guys in seats, and it's worked fabulously well. But realistically, what we're trying to say is that Dinosaurs didn't do any DR planning, so meteor hit them and they're dead. So we're wanting to hopefully try and learn from them and learn from different things that we can do to try and not get ourselves in that kind of position that we're going to be in trouble and actually no business, no jobs, no nothing. In terms of DR, what we're really wanting to look at is what is the actual cost for our business. And we're not talking about how much it costs to actually buy your DR solution. We're talking more around what's the actual cost to implement it entirely. That being, if you're having an outage, it's not only you're going to lose revenue by way of we can't bill customers, we can't have our website up and running, we can't do the things that we do day to day, but there's the bigger cost, which is destroying your company's brand, damage to loyalty, damage to future business that you may have got. These are things that you're not even going to realise as of now or in a month. It could be something that has a flow-on effect for months, if not years, or if not forever, for that customer's perception of your brand. So preventing and stopping any kind of actual disaster recovery event from destroying your business is a crucial thing for the longevity of the business. Revenue is a simple one to calculate, and I've got a very complex revenue calculator on the board here. But realistically, what this is trying to show you is that even if you don't know what the true cost is of an outage to your business, you can work it out from a simple revenue point of view. So the total amount of revenue for your company for the year divided by the actual outage and times by the impact. So just in an example for this one, if we were to take Amazon, for instance, working them out based upon a severe outage, 1 day's worth of outage for them would cost their company, based on their gross yearly revenue, about $5 million. So whilst we're not saying that everyone is Amazon size, but working out that is probably pretty important for you guys. So when you are trying to deploy a DR solution, rather than trying to tell the business that the $5,000 a month or the $100,000 it costs to actually deploy the solution is worth it, you should then talk more about if we were to have a day, a week, or a month's worth of outage to our business, it's going to cost us this in revenue and damage to our brand. A lot of the things that we see when people actually are deploying, or IT is deploying DR solutions, it's all around assumptions. People make assumptions, and people have to make assumptions. But often those assumptions are grossly incorrect or only skewed from an IT's perspective. Often I hear when out talking to customers that, we can get it back in a few hours. It's not that bad. We can get Dell to go and buy us new compute in maybe 2-3 days tops. But it's not just about compute. There are things that, whilst seem easy, they are in fact quite difficult. So purchasing new links, laying of new fibre to a business, creation of a new UPS, getting new air conditioning. These are things that aren't the 2 to 3 day mark that you can expect from getting more service sent out. These are things that can take a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks to actually get deployed. What do you do if your building's gone? How do people actually start to connect back in there? So these are things that, whilst DR from our perspective as IT people is more often than not how do we get the servers and applications back up and running, DR is also about having an actual DR plan and what are users going to do if the building is gone? How are they going to connect back in? Do you have a mobile plan? Do you have mobility in the business already? If not, do you need it, or is that sufficient? One of the biggest things from talking to potentially hundreds of clients over the last, say, 15 years is actually doing an actual DR failover. I can count on my hand how many customers have actually done a real failover. People have options like SRM, fantastic solutions, and whilst they can test them, they can't actually do a real failover. So people have a lot of confidence in these ring-fenced environments that are brought up, but that's not actually the full gamut of an actual DR failover. So again, do an actual DR failover at least once. Have a chat to the stakeholders of the business, try and arrange a time, even if it's a year in advance, arrange a time to do an actual failover so that your lessons you can learn can be learned in a testing scenario and in a stage scenario rather than learning these lessons from an actual real event and it being a very costly, potentially to the whole business. This is a dirty and a nasty slide, and it's really to show that there really are a lot of things on offer. There's the full gamut from backups all the way through to SAN replication with, live data on 2 sites, 5 sites. Not everything is good for everyone. So it's all about a matter of finding the solution which is going to be best for your business, and that doesn't necessarily need to be just the one solution. So what do I suggest? The first thing is about protecting what you need to. More often than not, I see RT departments deploying DR-based solutions more around what they can do, not really what they should do or what they need, what the business needs. So from that, I would suggest that everyone actually talking to the business first, finding out the business requirements, and that means chatting to all the different stakeholders from around the business, not just the people in IT who think they know what they're talking about, but actually talk to the people that, from the board level perhaps, that actually need to know what is up and what is down and what is protected and what's not protected. So once you get those requirements from the business, that's when you can start going forth and determining what do we need to protect and how do we protect it. And it definitely isn't an all or nothing approach. Again, I often see companies on the bigger end of the market, when you start talking to them about, hey, how's your DR going? They say, well, don't worry about it, look, we've got SAN replication, we've got 2 seconds RPO, everything's fantastic. And whilst by and large that is true, that's not necessarily going to be true for all use cases. Potentially you have an internally written application that isn't able to be QS'd or QS'd by the snapshotting process. So when bringing your 2-second-old database up in your disaster recovery zone, it could be corrupted. You may have to fall back to the last backup. So whilst every single day everyone's walking around with the assurity and the thought that I have a 2-second RPO in my DR site, potentially you may need to recover from your last backup, which might actually be 2 days old or a week old. So we're walking around with the impression and the thought that we have such a resilient solution, but potentially we don't. So it's all around, again, coming back to the business, getting from the stakeholders, what RPO do we actually need? What RTOs are acceptable by the business? And that will then drive what DR solution you have, whether you even need a DR solution, whether backups are fine. And often, tape backups are an actual acceptable solution for the business. The loss needed when you're having downtime isn't something that needs to be worried about. Often is the case, though, that businesses are becoming more and more reliant on their applications, and those applications can't actually sustain any outage at all. And that's when we're seeing, especially at ZetaGrid, our customers doing more and more high available based solutions, so distributed over 1 or 2 or 3 sites, so that DR isn't actually an issue anymore, and DR isn't a factor at all because we have such a highly available solution that a disaster recovery plan, in fact, isn't actually needed. The next one is don't protect against everything. The joke at the start was around, the meteor coming and hitting and destroying dinosaurs. That is actually still a possibility today. So no one I know has protected that, so which means that no one actually has a use case to protect against everything. So it then means that everyone here and every customer here actually has some scenarios that they're not protected against. So what that means, or what I'm trying to get at, is that means that we need to talk to the board, we need to talk to all the stakeholders in the business and let them know we're not protected against everything, but based on our solution or based on what we have now, we're protected against these 1, 2, 3, or these 100 scenarios. Because I want the risk to actually be given to the business itself, so us to IT to hand it off back up to the business and tell them, this is what we're currently protected for, and these scenarios we can withstand 1 rack loss, we can withstand a whole data center, we can withstand a flooding of the entire state, but we can't withstand losing the entire country. Once the board knows this, then they can do things themselves with the knowledge of, okay, this is the risk that we have for our business, and these are the things that we need to do to reduce risk, and is that actually applicable to us, and is that costed, and is that a cost-effective solution for us? So it'll remove, I guess, that assumption that the business has that IT has it under control. So the business, by and large, often doesn't know or doesn't want to know really much about IT, and they just assume that you guys have it under control. But in reality, there are a lot of scenarios that need to be protected for, and the business should know about these up front and not actually when the time comes and you need to brush up your resume. Again, my last one, don't be a fool, test your tool. You have a DR solution, you've paid a lot of money for it, you've invested a lot of time into it. Just testing your DR solution, just bringing up ring-fenced environments, doing things that aren't an actual DR failover isn't good enough and is something that you'd need to do at least once in the lifetime of the business. It is something that's hard, and it is something that everyone in the business will balk at and won't want to do, but it is something that is really, really crucial to saying hand on heart, we have a DR solution that actually will work when the time comes and will do what we expect it to do. Last picture. That's me today, guys. I do appreciate you taking the time to come out, and this has been great for me, not trying to sell things, not trying to do things, but hopefully give something back. So I do appreciate the time, guys, and thank you very much.